Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to cook a Greek dish. It's called pastitsio and it's comprised of these ingredients. You're going to want to ensure the pasta can swim well without getting too clogged up, otherwise it'll form stickiness and the starchiness, and it's just not going to work out well. And always make sure to season your water very well with salt, because you don't want your dish to turn out bland, and it will if you don't add enough salt. So you pretty much want your water that you boil the pasta in to be kind of like seawater, but not too much, because you're going to be seasoning the meat as you go as well. So in goes some salt. And we're only using half a packet of pasta and 500 grams of mince today. I'm only going to be making a rather small dish. Now to make the sauce, we're going to be adding 3/4 of a chopped onion into olive oil, around about 3 tablespoons of oil. And you're going to want to separate and let them sweat down a bit, let them fry, let them sweat, do the both. But you don't want them to burn. You just want to cook them down so they're nice and soft. Breaking them all up so they cook evenly. You can use these a little bit coarser. In most dishes it is, but my daughter doesn't like chunks of onion, so I hide it by slicing it a little bit thinner, plus it cooks a little bit quicker. Frying up nicely. Now that the onions are cooking down, you're going to want to add the spice and the tomato paste. It's better to add the spice now. It'll cook in better. So the spice is a level teaspoon of cinnamon, pretty much a heaped teaspoon, but not too heaped, of mint, dried mint, same of oregano, and about a level teaspoon of salt. And just throw that in like so. And you want to just cook that in. That will release all the aromatics. Oh, it smells delicious already. And then you want to go the 2 tablespoons or 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. And you want to cook out the tomato paste, like all my other dishes say. It gets rid of the tartness of the tomato paste. And then you're going to want to deglaze the pan with half a glass of red wine. And just let that simmer. Get all the flavours off the bottom. Cook that sauce in well. Now to that, you're going to want to add a jar of diced tomatoes, or in this case, I haven't got one. I forgot to grab some from the store. I'm going to use a jar of Napolitana sauce. It's got a few extra herbs in there, but a few extra bits and pieces, but it's all good. Adds to the flavour. So in goes the tomatoes. And once you've got this all mixed together well, you're going to want to add just a touch of sugar. Just a touch, because you already got the red wine in there. So you don't want to add too much sugar. It just helps to reduce the acid and give you a nice sauce. Added the heaped teaspoon of sugar. You just want to let everything cook together. And then what I normally do is I add this mixture to a bowl, and then I'll fry the mince separately, because sometimes when you buy the mince, it's got a lot of water in it, and you don't want to boil the mince, you want it to fry. So you want to slowly do the mince and drain off any excess water that comes out of it, because you know these big retailers, they like to jack the price up with water. But if you go to a reputable butcher, which I didn't have time to this morning, I was running late, you can buy a shoulder or a leg and have them debone it and mince it for you, and you'll have the best mince going with all the fat in it. You don't want to skimp out on the fat. For a good flavour of sauce, you're going to want to let it simmer like this, and then you're going to want to make sure you scrape it from the bottom, because any caramelisation on the bottom is flavour, but if you let it go too long, it'll burn and you'll end up with an acrid taste in your sauce. So just do this every couple of minutes, just scrape it from the bottom so your pan's nice and clean, and then just let it simmer again for a few more minutes. Okay, so we got the mince in and the pasta's under the boil. I'm going to fry this mince off. Make sure it's always frying and not boiling if any water comes out. Always drain any excess fluids. Okay, so I have to add the garlic in here. Let it fry off a bit because I forgot to put it in with the sauce, but it's okay. Then goes the sauce all over my spatula. Bloody hell. All this in. And you want to mix it all in. Yeah, a lot of that meat has started to caramelise on the bottom of the pan, but that's all good. It's caramelising, not burning. And you want to get all that up now with the fluid from the sauce, because it's all flavour. Hard doing this stuff with one hand, I tell you guys. I've got to get myself a camera mount of some sort to start a Patreon page. A couple of bucks here and there wouldn't hurt, and I'd make a lot more better videos with two hands. Alright, the sauce is coming together nice now. Just got to add the rest of the sauce and I have to put the camera down. So the oil, pasta has been boiled to al dente and rinsed under cold water to stop the cooking, and now you want to just add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt, which I've already done, and then just a touch of then that's it. And then you're just going to want to mix it all up so it's all nicely just sort of coated in a bit of oil, and it stops it from drying out. That's it. And now it's time for the bechamel sauce. We've got a knob of butter there. You want to let that melt. So make sure it's melting, not burning. Just melt it down bit by bit on a low heat. This is all done on a low heat. Now I've got my sauce there simmering on a low heat as well. The pasta's just sitting there ready to go. And we're just going to melt this butter down. Now for the bechamel sauce, you need 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients. Knob of butter and about half a litre of milk, because I'm only making a small pie today. Nutmeg and plain flour. Now you can buy store-bought bechamel. I have in the past, but it just ain't right. It just doesn't cook right, it doesn't end up right, it stays a bit like a texture of a mayonnaise, and it's just not what's wanted for a good bechamel. Now that's all melted down. I'm going to grab some flour. Now this you want to do bit by bit, just a little bit at a time. So bit of flour, just a couple of tablespoons worth there, and just mix it in. Make sure you don't get any lumps. And every time you mix a bit in, try to get this bit hard looking through the camera, you put in a little bit more. Now I'm just going to keep adding the flour until I get a good consistency, and I'll be right back. So we get to the consistency where it's like a dough, and then we're going to start adding the milk, bit by bit as well, until it comes to a sauce. So you just want to work the milk in bit by bit, and this is the part where you don't want to stop moving. So I'm going to have to put the camera down again, guys, sorry. As you can see, it's kind of like a mashed potato consistency. So we keep adding the milk until it's more of a custard consistency, but just a tiny bit of milk at a time. Because you can always add milk, but you can never take it back out. Suppose you could add flour, but it'll end up just being lumpy and doughy, and that's not what is wanted when making a beautiful bechamel. If you think it's not informative enough, there are other videos out there on making bechamel sauce, and you can always go watch one of those. But I could always do a separate video on bechamel sauce making. Just leave your comments if that's what you want, and I'll make a more informative one. Yeah, it's starting to get to a bit more of a gravy-ish, but not yet. A bit more milk is needed. And then we put the nutmeg into the mixture and let it heat through, and that gives it a beautiful nutmeggy sweet taste. There's the nutmeg. Around about half a teaspoon, or a touch more. It's very strong, so don't go too hard on nutmeg. Then into the mix, you're going to want to throw in a bit of the Parmesan cheese that we're going to throw on top of the pastitsio, and then also 2 egg yolks, just the yolk, not the whites. Actually, I only need 1 egg yolk for this because it's a smaller mix than usual. But as you can see, it's got like a nice custardy consistency. Just chop that down at once. Yolk of 1 egg, amount of Parmesan cheese, and melt it in. Now you can turn the heat off on this. Just use the residual heat to melt everything in. And I'll be right back. So here's the sauce, and we're going to want to add a small amount of the bechamel into the sauce. This will help it to sit well and not fall apart when we add the layers into the baking dish for the final assembly. We've got our Pyrex dish here. Have a look at this thing upside down. No, why is it upside down? Okay, time for the final assembly. We've got the Pyrex dish, get our sauce, bechamel sauce, and our pasta. That's all it comes down to. Now, small bit of meat on the bottom. You're just going to want to move that around. It's kind of like lining the baking dish to stop things from sticking. Just adds a little layer of fat and slipperiness. Then goes the pasta. Put an escapee there, don't worry. I'll throw him back in the mix. Now in goes the sauce. Let's see what I can do here. Whew. Yep, that'll do. Sauce on top. Yeah, buddy. Now that sauce on top, we're going to spread it all out. Make sure to cover all the corners. Put a little butter in there, put some more sauce over the top, cover in. This dish might be a touch small for what I need it to do, but it'll do. Like that. Now the sauce, bechamel sauce on top. Okay, so the bechamel sauce is on top. Then we start to rake that around. I just have to clean off my little spatula here so it's not to taint the colour too much. Because you want to have some separation between your layers. You don't want it all to be just mixed up into a blob like a lasagna. Touch more sauce. The sauce, the bechamel smells simply amazing. I much prefer to spend the 5 minutes making my own sauce than to get a store-bought one. Now on top of that, last but not least, is the parmesan. Now if you're making a bigger dish for more people, there's only 3 of us in this family, and I don't really eat pasta anymore, or any less. You can just double up on all the ingredients and make a larger dish, which I normally do, and then I normally just pack it in the freezer once it cools down into glass dishes, ramekins or whatever you want to call them. Seal the lids. You want to get the cheese on all the pieces so everyone gets a nice even coat of cheese. This is addictive food, guys. So now this has got to go into the oven. I already preheated it, but I had to turn it off because it's noisy. Preheat to 180 degrees. Then you want to cook this for about 45 minutes to an hour, or until this goes a nice brown, golden brown. And then once that's done, is you want to bring it out and let it cool somewhat. So it's just lukewarm when you eat it. You don't want to eat it too hot. Otherwise, when you try cut it, it'll just fall apart. But if you let it cool down, everything will set into its place and it'll be delicious. Trust me. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Cooked to perfection. There's the line of pasta, the meat and the sauce. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I've got other cooking videos on YouTube, so check them out. Into the ramekin, that's the pasta there. As I said, you do have to let it cool down, but I've got to take some to my daughter's school for her lunch, as I did promise it to her, and so I had to cut it early. Okay guys, don't forget, like, comment and subscribe.